Okay, well, it's 7 o'clock. I'm going to call the meeting of Middleton Plan Commission Tuesday, November 28, 2017 to order. And the first item is the roll call.
Paulson,
Here.
Hubbard, Brar,
Here.
Zellers, here, Olson, here, Dorn,
Here.
Reed.
Here.
Okay, so the next item is the approval of the minutes.
Move approval. Second.
Okay, so the motion is to approve the minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the minutes are passed. So the next item on the agenda is the concept review, and who's going to take it? Eileen, or concept review of Ostringer Capital Group mixed-use development
The applicant
on
is
University
here.
Avenue.
The applicant is here, and there are two site plans in your packet. And I think Mark has written comments on both. I think they're about the same, just in terms of what the issues are. Density, building height, the setbacks, fire access, parking, and then stormwater management. But the applicant is here and can likely talk about some of it. Oh,
Okay.
we have. And there's also, Abby has some supplemental materials that were gathered up today, and the first one is the existing zoning showing in the area on University Avenue. And this site has been the subject of a proposed mixed-use project in the past. It just never moved forward.
And you know why? Okay.
Can you? Is the developer going to make a presentation?
I think so.
Okay,
They're
so
prepared to do it, I think.
are you guys prepared to make a presentation? Sure. Okay, well, let's go for it.
While they're setting up, what's the main difference between these two site plans we have in front of us?
You should move from the second site plan.
The November 22nd one.
Yeah, we came up with a concept. We were wise enough to share it with your all-knowing staff. They provided some guidance that allowed us to address some of the particular items that we suspected might arise, and then we came up with the second site plan. So the second one hopefully addresses some of the concerns that have been raised and articulated by Arlene earlier.
Can you just identify yourself for the recording? Is your name and who you are?
My name is Anthony Gray. I am the president and CEO of the Institute for Global Ethics, which is the country's oldest ethics think tank. I moved the Institute from the East Coast to the greater Madison area about 4 years ago. A couple of months ago, I purchased 6824 University Avenue, the old Little Cottage daycare, to turn that beautiful limestone building into the international headquarters for the Institute for Global Ethics, and a for-profit company I own called Ostringer Capital Management, which has since gotten site control and or purchased 6824, as well as the 2 vacant lots to the east. So we are sandwiched in between the Nesson Insurance Company and Buzz's property on the west are our 2 neighbors. And
Wait.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
6814 is vacant?
68, 16, and 18, I think it is. And 24 is where the
24
cottage
is
is.
where
24 is the cottage, but 14 has a...
Like it has a building on it.
No,
That did
it-
have a building.
It did many years ago. It doesn't now.
Oh, okay. I haven't driven recently.
They're both vacant. The middle lot is currently used by many as a parking lot, and then the far west lot, right next to the Nissan Insurance Company, is literally just kind of overgrown and unkept. So we came up with the idea to try and find the highest best use in this wonderful area on University Avenue. We see it growing. We're excited, A, in my day job to be a part of this lovely community, and B, in my night job, we thought there was a fabulous opportunity to create some economic development in some spaces that were otherwise underutilized, or certainly not at their highest best use. We love the location directly across the street from the Willie Street Co-op, and we've hired Jolie Architects, and we have our architect here to answer any technical questions you may have. I don't have that skill set. But we've created a mixed-use project where we think we can create some wonderful housing that'll complement the neighborhood, that'll complement the grocery store and the bowling alley directly across the street, and create the kind of development that is creeping down University Avenue. We think we can contribute to that in a positive way.
Are you going to present on the site plan?
You want to present on the site plan? Do you want to do it, or you want me to? Okay.
Hi, Mark Ott from JLA Architects. So as Anthony had mentioned, we had come in a few weeks ago and met with Eileen and Mark Opitz to go through what was, and in your packet is probably option number 1. That option put more of the building off of University Avenue and actually kind of L-shaped the other way, and actually was leading into the neighborhood. It also had more egress and ingress points off of University Avenue. So as we met with staff and kind of talked about the project as a whole, we looked at, Mark and Eileen had asked us to maybe look at another concept, trying to get more of the building out on University Avenue, especially since it does have a commercial space component, as well as trying to move some of the building away from the neighbors on the rear of the site. So we did. We went back and looked at that. Took us a little bit, a few extra days, and thus then we submitted option number 2, which I think, obviously, in Mark's letter and Anthony's and ourselves' opinion, is obviously a better option than option 1. So rather than wasting time on looking at 2 options tonight, we just say let's look at option 2. So the highlights of option 2, again, the lot is kind of kind of an L-shaped lot if you look at the packet. Obviously, the existing cottage, I guess as we always refer to it as, that had the daycare in it that Anthony is refurbishing for his offices right now, we're keeping that. And then again, trying to use the highest and best use of the rest of the lot, putting the building around it for housing. So again, along that corridor currently, obviously, on the opposite side, as he just mentioned, we have Wheel Street Co-op and the bowling alley and the strip center. And even on our side of the street over here, of course, you have some old homes that were converted into business quite a long time ago. So kind of already a commercial corridor on that side. So again, the highlights through the packet is, I think we're at 38 units currently for the new project. We're proposing a 4-story building. Again, highest and best use. That would incorporate some small, about just over 2,000 square feet of retail up along or pushed up into the edge out by University Avenue, a small parking lot, obviously there for that area. And then two different...
Excuse me, could I ask you, I still can't figure, because of the dates, they're both dated the same, so I'm not sure which one I'm looking at.
No, this one's got.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I thought the other one was November 17th.
Okay, that's, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that says a stamp, but, yeah.
Can we throw this one away?
You can throw the other, yeah.
That's the only,
You said 2,000 square feet of retail.
It is roughly...
stamp,
Exactly what it says.
dated. They didn't change anything.
Throw away the one which is stapled.
2,324 square feet of retail. The one again with the leg up along University.
I mean, I know that you've met with staff and throwing away the option 1, which I think is good because, I mean, the difficulty with redevelopment is, of course, a lot of those uses are already set way back from the street. Modern design would have every, especially retail uses, much more hugging the street. And now I'm getting into David's design category. But
Please.
you want...
So again, this plan has 2 levels of underground parking. We have parking under the entire
We have another one in there.
You have a backup?
We have another one.
While we're waiting for it, the project has one level of underground parking
Yep.
and then one level of surface parking, which is sheltered still by the residential units above. And
Wait, what?
Except for the wall that faces the street.
Correct. So, yep.
So is that a blank wall?
No, so again, if you were to go to page A101 is probably the level we're talking about. So
Right, yeah.
we have a full underground level that's accessed from the rear of the building. The, what we call actually grade level, first floor level, A101 has,
Oh, okay.
what's that?
Yeah, I see it now.
Has the at-grade parking kind of on the rear part of the building. The forward-facing part of the building out along the street would be the retail and lobby, so that would be glass and windows and...
But the wall of the parking will still be a major wall.
In concept review, we haven't gotten that far as to how open that parking would be or how, we could put windows in. I mean, we're at just concept review level at this stage.
I think, yeah,
Yeah.
needs to be thought about.
Yes, exactly.
The parking's at grade, but the apartments then are up a floor.
Then in this concept, all units are starting at the second floor. There are no units on first floor. First floor is entirely parking and retail. Yeah.
And the retail that you show on 101 is at sidewalk level,
Is at sidewalk level, yes.
right?
Yep. Yep. Up along the short end there, the 62 feet would be directly up against the sidewalk, if you will, of University Avenue. Yep.
How far setback from the sidewalk? I mean, it looks like...
We've
more
got
than
about 10 feet.
10 feet?
Yep. 10 feet from sidewalk to base of building right now.
And that would all be windows.
Yeah.
So it's that sidewalk walkable feel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Have a good pedestrian feel to it.
right.
Yep.
On University
Presumably
Avenue.
all of the residents would enter through that hatched area in the parking?
Are you looking at the first floor?
Yeah, yep.
Yep. So if they were parking on first floor, they would come in through that hatched area in between the two handicap parking stalls into the lobby, which is where the elevator is, and then obviously up. Obviously, if they're parking on the lower level, there's the elevator goes down there. There's a hatched area around that elevator as well.
And then the stairs also go down.
Stairs go, yep, up and down. Yep.
Up and down.
And you're going to think about what happens to deliveries, UPS parcel deliveries, which is a much more major concern now. So somehow they need to be able to get to that lobby mail area.
Correct.
we're looking at a handful of options. One of the interesting ones is Amazon now has essentially
Yeah.
a turnkey operation that you can put into the building
Right.
where you only access it with a key fob if you have a package. And it's all done wirelessly so that
And do you be prepared to give that risk to Amazon, would you?
Sure.
Okay.
If the technology is sufficient, I would.
Okay.
That just reminded me, I forgot to pick up an Amazon package. Texted my wife.
How would that work with other companies, since plenty of other companies also deliver?
It's really just a delivery area. The product that I was looking at isn't limited to Amazon packages, it's just that they have a turnkey set, so developers literally can plop it down. The only way you access the small space is if you have a package. When they deliver, whomever delivers, it gets scanned into that little room or a corridor or a tube or however, whichever product you're using, and then your residents are able to come down without having to have someone let them in and still access their packages when they arrive. They get an email when a package arrives at the building for them.
At this point, it is just notification that it's an issue, right? It has to be solved.
Right.
Yeah.
Susan, you have a question?
Yes, I do. What is the size of the elevator?
It is.
Yes.
It
Please make
will
sure the
be-
elevator is appropriately sized.
I understand the inside joke. It will be stretcher accessible elevator.
Good, good. Thank you. Okay, so Dennis, you had a question?
Well, I was wondering, other than the retail, it doesn't seem like the building as a front entrance?
Again, the concept of that lobby and mail from the exterior, we'll do something with the architecture to make that known that that's the tenant entrance. So there will be something in the architecture of the building that signifies that's the main entrance. Obviously, concept review at this point, that hasn't all been worked out yet, but understand.
But it's still off street. It's not
Correct.
on the street.
Correct.
It's a strange place for an entrance. Plus, it's going to be tough walking through that dog wash.
Cindy?
So, if I'm understanding this correctly, and maybe a little bit in reference to what Dennis said, you have two entrances on and off University Avenue. One for that little surface parking lot? and
Correct.
one for. So,
Correct.
one answer to what Dennis mentioned might be from that surface parking lot. If you have your retail on the front side, your main entrance, I'm expecting you would put behind that. But I'm not sure I'm so wild about two more entrances onto University Avenue.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. We're trying to limit that. And just to take one step back, to talk about the site plan. So there is, part of what we're trying to do here too is utilize an existing 10-foot right-of-way easement that's there.
Where?
And share, what's that?
Where?
Yeah, that's on
If
the
you
west
look
side.
to the plan left, plan,
Western edge of
Yep.
the design.
yep.
Because there's currently two driveway cuts.
There's probably 3 technically there now between all of the lots.
So
counting.
even though you're adding traffic, you're not adding extra driveway
Exactly.
cuts.
We're probably
They may
taking
be
one away.
taking one away.
Correct. By utilizing and working with the neighbor Buzz on a joint ingress-egress,
Okay.
redoing
Okay.
his parking, et cetera.
Because you realize if you only have one point of egress, the fire department's going to get,
Exactly.
Yeah, sorry.
Exactly.
Just to make sure I have this straight, in the L shape of your building, the little existing house to remain there, that's 6824, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And then to the west of that is your driveway with parking?
Yep. That parking will be utilized by Buzz's, not by the apartment building, but that's his parking for his business.
So, okay. So
We're just
that-
upgrading it and
Wait,
redoing
which
it as
one is
part of the
Buzz's
project.
business?
The one to the
One to the
to
west.
What's the name
west.
of it?
So that's not your lot
I'm
and your
driving by.
property there?
Well, Buzz is here.
Oh, the acupuncture. The insurance is on the east side.
Is
Yeah,
on
on the east side.
Okay.
That's our eastern neighbor.
What
Yeah,
is
that's
what is
Nathan.
Buzz's?
East.
Oh, okay. I know what you mean. Thank you.
It has a big sign, it has multiple businesses there,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I know which one it is now. Yeah, I just needed to make sure.
I think there's a very valid comment though that Cindy raised as a sort of somewhere in that corner of your building where there is the parking, there ought to be some kind of signal of an entrance.
And we totally agree. Obviously, we're just at the concept level
Right.
for massing and scale and use.
Yep.
But definitely, you're 100% right.
I apologize, David. Could you say that again? I want to follow.
He's talking in this corner, trying to make sure we really identify what the entrance is.
Like the tenants won't know where
Are
to
you
go.
talking about the tenants
Yeah.
into the building?
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, yes, we have to develop that.
Thank you.
I have
Yes,
a couple questions in terms of concept. Residents would have to come in going west on University to turn right in
Yeah.
because that traffic island will preclude them from left turning across traffic into the.
Currently, yes.
And I'm assuming then part of our recommendation will be a traffic impact analysis, right? Because we may, then any person coming out is going to have to turn right.
Currently, yeah.
And just one of the traffic concerns is University at Park during peak hours is already not the most pleasant way to drive. And I'm sure we can work that out, but. And can we request that at the, presumably this is going to request a rezoning to PDD or PDDI.
Correct.
could we see a detailed scale model or representation to show the shadow concerns?
Yes.
Because I know that'll be important for the. And then in terms of the housing, I'll probably make a motion to refer it to my own workforce housing committee. There's 38 units, right? And if I read this correct, 30 of those units are one-bedroom units,
Yep.
and two of them are two-bedrooms.
Correct.
Which again is something that seems more in keeping with proximity along a major arterial rather than in kind of a neighborhood setting. But did I see an email that some of these are going to be workforce housing units?
I think there are 9 units.
There are.
So this is the 20% of the units.
Yeah, well, right now I know we're up to 15. I'm not sure if 20% is. But under the current pro forma, we saw 15% of the units would be workforce housing under WIDA's designation for workforce housing.
Yeah. So I would just encourage you to look. So the WIDA designation is either 40% of the units at 60% AMI or 20% of the units at 50% AMI. So I don't know of any WIDA program that allows you to have 15%. You're talking about on the bond program.
No. We were looking at 15% of the units designated as workforce housing under WIDA's definition.
Oh, under WIDA's definition, but not with WIDA
Not
financing.
necessarily with WIDA financing, although you should know that both Wayman and George Petak, who covers Dane County, have come to visit and are excited about the project and want to assist. So it's really a matter of what programs at WIDA. Everyone's familiar with the tax credits, but they have a lot of other programs. And so it's really just a matter of which ones we're going to fit in. And as we refine our pro forma and gather this feedback from you all and work on the design, we'll make those decisions over the next few weeks.
If Wayman's in, I'm in. I do what he tells me.
Me too.
I think the one big question is that all the buildings along the University Avenue are 1-story or 2-story.
Yeah.
So this is going to be a 4-story, and I think that's something which we need to address. And I don't know, Eileen may be able to answer that. What is our plan along the university corridor? So in terms of, the building size and height and some of those things, because that's what we need to address here right now. So.
And I think the shadow study will be important. I think this is just reflecting some of the things. Most of the other redevelopment that's occurred on University Avenue to date, at least the 30 years I've been here, has been pretty much a single story, but it was also 15 or 20 years ago, and our thinking has changed somewhat. I think the shadow study will be important to know what the impacts are. I think the design of the building itself will be very important, and everything that the Plan Commission members have mentioned that you're already looking at will be important. I think we want to ensure that it fits from the architecture standpoint, that it doesn't overshadow the neighbors, that there's joint parking or shared parking if we can, joint access, and that it blends in with what's there. And also that it doesn't intrude on, part of the issues with, or part of the issue with redevelopment of University Avenue is that the lots are relatively shallow. These are fairly deep with, in comparison with most of the other lots that are up and down University Avenue. So they don't have quite the same issue. It's still an issue, and that was pointed out by Mark, I think, in the staff comments, the setback to the residential duplex to the north. But that will definitely be an issue as we look at future redevelopment, not impacting negatively on the neighborhood. We might also want to think about how we can create connections. That's one of the things we talked about when we looked at the University Avenue corridor in the BUILD program. How do we make sure we do have pedestrian and vehicular connections to the neighborhood so they can feel like they can utilize what's created here in redevelopment? I don't know if that answers your question.
So most of the time we focused on the south part of the University Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And so do we have some build plan or any of the other things for the north part of north of the University Avenue as well?
I'll have to double check and see what we have, but this is certainly, again, in keeping with the kind of redevelopment that we've seen over the last probably 8 to 10 years.
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask that. There was a build or a corridor plan along here recently, wasn't there?
Yeah.
and it would be helpful to see that. Alternatively, if not, and again, given our comprehensive plan policies, we want to accommodate some significant amount of redevelopment activity along arterials. It would be good to see some sort of kind of detailed design or corridor plan to see what it would look like design-wise, economic-wise, and traffic-wise if, as we would expect, many of these buildings eventually convert to 3 or 4 stories, consistent with a major employment arterial that has good transit service. That's where you want. If we could see those plans, or I don't know if.
Cindy?
In addition to that, I think we need to see those plans, and we need to have some sense of what the future along that corridor is going to be. But remind me, where in the process of all of this we would get comments and input from the neighbors?
Well, one of the things.
I think it's important that
Yep.
the neighbors understand the corridor plan and all that too, so that if other changes are going to occur, they're aware of.
And certainly when that corridor plan was put together, there was a lot of neighborhood involvement, at least, in the corridor. They are planning to have a neighborhood meeting. They've already talked, I think, with neighbors on either side, but you're planning on having a broader neighborhood meeting sometime in the next 2 weeks? Or?
We've talked to, and I believe gotten buy-in on both our eastern and western neighbors. We've also spoken to not quite a neighbor, but the duplex behind on the property. And Melissa Huggins, Urban Assets, Inc., is the consultant we're using to make sure that the community that we're trying to join gets an opportunity to feed into what it is they want and how it is they want it.
Okay.
We're going to be holding a community meeting with our local alderperson and probably in the conference room of the Willie Street Co-op. Okay.
Idea.
So that the neighborhood will get an opportunity to look at the plans, talk about what it is they need and want, and see whether or not we can, through the built environment, try and deliver some of that.
Idea.
And I think that's pretty important to get the neighborhood input early on. So in that way, it will save you a lot more time further down the road, so.
Yeah, we're expecting that meeting to be in December, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, those are good plans. We'll get those.
Yeah, good, thank you.
Yes, Kurt?
Concept-wise, I like the idea of thinking about creative redevelopment along these arterials that blends office, retail, and housing. But the traffic circulation on the site is going to be a little difficult if you imagine 38 peak hour vehicle trips coming in and out. So I think the shadow study will be helpful for thinking about the density of the site.
So it will be only right in, right out?
There's no way you can go left out.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to have to be right in, right out. The problem is, of course, that given that the main way that people would access the main employment center in Madison would be to go east. So they're going to have to go, I don't know, up Park Street and over Maywood Branch.
Certainly if they're driving.
Yeah.
Parking.
Most of my
But there's bus service,
employees,
right?
Most of my employees take the bus in every morning from Madison, and there's a bus stop right across the street to the east of the bowling alley. We also subsidize that. We try and encourage, wherever possible, the use of public transportation and green and renewable usage.
And that's part
on
of
the
our
site.
city comprehensive plan strategy and workforce strategies. We put workforce housing is near good, high throughput transit.
Well, and part of the way I got everyone on board with the move from Block 89, from the square in Madison to Middleton, was my business subsidizes the public transportation for all of my employees.
Well, that's wonderful. So you're already there in that building then?
Yes, sir. We have already moved into the limestone cottage that used to
Okay.
be the little daycare center.
Yeah.
The beautiful hardwood floors have just been refinished. Just this evening, on my way down here, the contractor finished the painting on the second floor. Tomorrow they start on the first. And on the 12th and 13th, my board of directors, normally they fly in one time a year, not surprisingly in July. They're so excited about becoming part of the Middleton community. My board of directors is going to be flying in from all over the country on December 12th and 13th to hold a board meeting in Wisconsin in December.
It's nice weather.
Well, they will be hardy, so.
I hope we get some snow
So,
for
yes,
them.
David.
I think you should charge your architects to come up with some options. Right? One that I would perhaps encourage is to make it a 3-story building on the very last building. You know, to bring the scale down at the street to 3 stories rather than 4 stories. It means losing 2 units, I know, and you'll get upset at that. But what I'm saying,
along University Avenue.
along
Kinda step it
University
back.
Avenue, right?
Step it back
But
up.
it's 3 stories, not 4 stories. So you know, just look at those options.
And also, they will get a community input as well and see
Exactly.
how they feel, so.
But look at options and come back to us with options in the next round, rather than sort of saying, here it is.
Okay.
And part of that's going to be how you articulate the roof line. Right?
Yep.
You've not been here when I've been upset about roof lines.
And we'll keep it that way.
More questions or comments? Yes, hon.
I would like to make a motion to, very least, refer the matter to the Workforce Housing Committee for review and comment on the workforce housing element,
Need a
with
second.
appreciation
I'll
for your
second.
openness to that.
Okay, discussion.
I still have
Yeah.
one question, and that is
Yeah.
this ramp. This seems like an awkward and somewhat exiting system. It's certainly not very straightforward. It's a pretty tight curve. And I'm wondering why we can do this some other way than to come in that from that direction. I mean, you've got a lot of land which is just concrete or asphalt, whatever you're doing, and it just strikes me as being kind of
Yeah, I mean,
not a straightforward way of doing this.
Yeah, I mean, the issue is obviously that the site is very flat and needing to get down essentially 10 feet and needing a certain amount of run, obviously, for a safe ramp pitch to get down under there. Now, you know, we haven't, again, we're at the concept level. This ramp could become smaller as we continue to work through with our civil engineers and get real world grades and data and et cetera in there. But there is a certain kind of minimum amount of run, if you want to call it that, to get down under there, because we're trying to stay high, obviously, on the other side, because we have those 2 different levels of parking. So this actually, you know, has probably more run, which means a gentler slope than other conditions. If you were to go into more urban areas, it's a pretty straight, steep shot. So this is a little bit more gradual. But I understand what you're saying.
Is your road, excuse me,
Yeah,
sorry,
go ahead, David.
is some of your road on the adjacent property? It's not just the parking spaces.
So none of the road it is. We start essentially really with our drive aisle. Everything starts at the 10-foot right-of-way easement and comes into our property for the actual drive aisle. The parking there for Buzz's acupuncture, or is it acupuncture or? Yep. So that utilizes some more there. We've kind of given him more asphalt to make his turning and ingressing and egressing. But if you were to kind of remove that, the actual road starts right up against the 10-foot utility easement and moves towards our property.
Yes, Cindy, and then Dennis?
One other thing I would encourage you to do is to meet the parking code. We have some recent history with issues with that, so whatever you can do to not have to ask for a variance in parking, I would appreciate.
You had any question? Okay.
Well, especially because this is an area where there's limited street parking.
Right,
Yep.
right.
The only other question is, your proposal would take all 3 lots and combine them in one PDD rezoning.
Correct.
And you need to take the existing lot with your business and basically take the back portion of it in order to get enough area to do the turn.
Yes. Correct.
And I noticed that you're addressing the stormwater issues. There's already some pond back there, or is that your property, or?
It's not existing.
It's an easement that we secured when we got site control. So the center lot, right behind it, that 35 feet stretch back into the back third of where the duplex is. We secured an easement on that property that is attached to the central lot for stormwater management, and up to a third could be for parking if we needed it. But the concept was that if we're going to design something for stormwater management, why not create some kind of a beautiful water feature rather than, if we have to do it anyways, why not make it look good, make it inviting, make the neighborhood feel like it's an amenity as opposed to simply compliance.
Oh, that's good. So, but that's how you plan to handle the stormwater?
Correct.
Back there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Since you deal with ethics, I can think of one main public sector client who could use some ethical guidance. But I feel like that because I'm sitting by empty chairs and tables tonight.
No comment.
Yes.
I have a curious, I just don't know the answer to this. You can get an easement on someone else's property? Know that.
It has to be in perpetuity. It can't be changed
Yeah.
without express approval of, I mean, it'll have to require city approval if it's ever
Okay.
changed, because they would have to, yeah, you can.
So then, whatever happens to either one of these properties, that stays in effect? Okay, I
And
didn't know that.
that would be a condition of the
Yeah,
GIP rezoning.
yeah.
Correct.
Always something to learn.
Yeah,
Cindy.
I guess so.
Are we talking PPI 1? I mean.
And
Beyond 1?
Phil, he's
Oh.
asking if
I think
It
we're
is-
just looking at PDD.
PDDI or PDD?
PDDI?
PDD.
Well, it's clearly,
EDD.
you know, you remember that
Yeah.
the last time,
I
you know,
remember.
where we talked about,
What?
the contention was that we developed PDDI to accommodate some of the parcels along University Avenue, so.
But it was also it was almost 30 years ago, too. And again, I think we probably should just
What,
get rid of that, because we have a lot of experience with PDD.
on the 3 parcels, what would be the aggregate floor area ratio of the new proposal?
To be honest, I haven't even calculated it. We could
I mean,
get that.
I'll repeat my statement that a floor area ratio of 0.7 is kind of strip commercial development and
Right.
Exactly.
not appropriate for arterial infill.
Exactly. Nor is the PDDI 50% non-impervious ratios. There's just almost no way to actually redevelop a site using PDDI. It's antiquated, it's outdated.
I still think the answer is not to have it in
I
our code
agree.
if we do,
I agree.
if we don't intend to ever use
I
it, or if
agree.
it's not
We
appropriate.
have to go through the process.
Yeah,
I'm working with them that they got to handle it,
right.
yes.
Right.
And I talked to them today, so it has to be taken care of. Okay, so the motion is to refer this to the
Workforce housing, is there any other
Workforce
committee that would,
Committee, and
presumably, once it's an actual rezoning request, it would go to Public
Public
Works?
Works, for sure.
yes, yes,
And,
but we are not there yet.
no.
Okay, so all those in favor of that motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so the motion passes. All right. Well, thank you, guys. Have a great evening.
If anyone has any questions for me prior to arriving at Middleton,
I think we're
Oh,
connected on
feel free to
LinkedIn.
reach out. We are. We are LinkedIn. Social media is amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
And Melissa employs my best former students.
Okay. Now we are on to item number 3. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone.
And I can see talk about this one. the Abra.
So this is the concept review for Abra Auto Body and Glass on 8026 Forsythia Street, and Eileen is going to take it.
Sure, and I didn't mean to make my staff comments so cryptic. I guess we were running out of time last week with a short week. But the points I was trying to make is that it doesn't fit into the zoning right now. It would need to be added through a GIP amendment as a conditional use. And there would have to be some fairly stringent standards set for it, but that, we could develop those. The other thing I was trying to point out is that it is a conditional use. This use is already a conditional use in the industrial district. The Airport Road Business Park does mirror the Airport Road, or the industrial district for the most part. All permitted uses in the industrial district are permitted in the Airport Road Business Park. It's just that not the conditional uses, so that's the,
What you're referring to, Ball Body Shop, is that?
ball body is a, conditional use.
That's,
So
So there are some PDs.
it is a conditional use in the industrial zone, but it's just not listed as a conditional use in the current GIP.
And there are some PDDs, the one that's just south of the American Girl, that does have it as a conditional use. You know, the concerns I would have are the appearance, the,
Appearance of the building, you mean?
yeah, the appearance of the building, the fencing. Given our experience with some body shops, just the number of cars that are on site, and how they're screened, and so that's.
What are most of the uses adjoining it? I'm just trying to remember.
That's it on one kitchen,
There's an, there's a, I don't
kitchen
know if
appliance.
vacant, okay. Okay.
Do you want to come over there and,
Microphone, yeah. So just so you're recorded for the
I'm sorry.
public.
A big feed. Jean Whitish. I'm the landowner, or representing the landowner, the Airport Road Business Park. And on either side of that, it's a vacant lot. And frankly, from a standpoint of, we agreed to the limited access off of Airport Road back when, 1998. Okay, so we're heading for 20 years. Those lots have been sitting there. And the building is compatible, and you have car dealers that are all fronting on Airport Road. They're going to utilize the access off of Forsythia, coming in off of Nursery, so that all that traffic has already been accommodated for. And the only other neighbor is that small kind of agribusiness. There's two or three tenants there, but that Hart and Noble has in that one little building.
Oh,
And
on
they're
the
also
back.
close to Dibdall's, aren't they? Classic Kitchen?
There's a vacant lot though.
Right, but
between
they're,
them.
but I mean, it's on that
Yeah.
stretch.
But that's it. So.
But
I think it's a great use from a standpoint of being close to car dealerships that are there in the area. It's upscale, there's another building like it on Odana Road. So if anybody, I mean, they're not low-grade buildings that are, that are being proposed. So.
I
think the
seen,
concern, sorry.
well, I have seen the one on Adana, and I actually talked to the gentleman earlier, so now that doesn't have any fence or anything which I could see there.
I think they're proposing screening though.
When you're ready, we'll.
Okay. Yeah, yes, Kurt, you had something.
Well, no, the use concern is that business parks, at least in the PDD as I read, were more oriented towards businesses that are production businesses or that would have a limited amount of customer traffic, as opposed to kind of more retail use that would generate a lot of traffic. But I agree with you that I think the area in there can accommodate a large volume of kind of retail-oriented traffic.
And I have to politely agree and disagree with you from the standpoint of the original plan along Airport Road was always that the frontage would have the capability to have a more retail, traffic-facing type location.
Okay.
And that was built in from the beginning. However, the agreement to limit access off of Airport Road has made it very difficult to appeal to those types of businesses. And we now have a gymnastics facility in what was about a 2 or 3 time failing restaurant type use
Right.
in there. And that had, I think,
Yeah.
directly to do with access. as much as anything. So there's several of those, I think Kiva, you know, and basically what has sort of evolved out there has been a general community where like Kiva will notify when they're doing a couple of their community events and say, you know what, it's going to be busy this weekend, we're doing this fundraiser or we're doing this particular tournament or whatever. And the businesses in the area seem to work with that, and it tends to work just fine. So I don't anticipate, I think this is going to be a little bit of a blip compared to the rest of the uses that are currently in the park, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Oh, I agree in principle. I'm just reading the PDD, GIP, and the permitted uses are sales, manufacturing, fabricating, processing, research, and office uses in the industrial zone. So it had that kind of flavor to me.
And then we put the West Terminal back in the
Right.
corner to.
But and restaurants are a conditional use in that.
Yes.
Yeah, which
And daycare, which we have.
which daycare. Yep, and yep. We could use more restaurants back there too.
Yeah. Well, and the Plan Commission did give.
I know somebody
concept-
would love to be there.
Yeah.
Waffle House would be nice.
Oh.
Anyway,
The Plan Commission did give concept approval a couple years ago, and Abby might remember the year, but that building is not going ahead, but it was at the corner of Nursery and Airport, and it was going to be more support-type services with retail and offices. So with the recognition that that was heavily traveled, I think they're changing that concept, but it was looked at then, so.
Try to see some of this is that you can't, when you're sitting down trying to do the GDP and then the SIP, and the history here is that the city came to my business partner at the time seeking that land specifically for development, because the city needed land to be able to expand its business district.
That is true.
And so the GDP was actually drafted by the city and submitted to the landowner.
Also
and
true.
then about that time is when I entered the picture, and I'm like, you did what?
But it's worked out really well.
It has. It has been wonderful. So when we got to the specific implementation, you can't always foresee everything that's going to present in the future. And to date, it's been a great relationship, and we've been able to do this.
so would staff be amenable to or could research amending the GIP under conditional uses to say all sales, manufacturing, fabricating, processing, research, and office usage, which are conditional uses under the I zoning district, shall be permitted as conditional uses
conditional uses.
in the GIP.
And then,
And then this would just be a conditional use hearing rather than
Right.
I mean, right now it would have to be a GIP amendment. Either way, it requires a GIP amendment.
right, it's just a broader one with the language.
broader
That's
one to
probably a
give
good
you
way to
the-
do it.
So if everybody's open to that, we would set that ball in motion immediately.
What do you guys think?
I think it's a good idea.
What do you think, David?
I'm just concerned about having a fenced-in area.
Oh, you don't want a fence?
Well, I think
You do.
it changes the whole character of the area. And I also wonder who's going to buy the land, or what's going to happen to the land on the other side of this in terms of some of that being attractive to another owner.
Are you thinking maybe it was with landscaping, or you're just concerned about?
I think it's for large scale.
Is the purpose of the fence screening, and does this use envision a lot of outdoor storage of cars? Because I don't understand the business model. I mean that's the concern, right? Is that higher end auto glass?
Request from the city,
I don't know.
from a desire standpoint to have the parking street.
I mean,
Focus
the issue is, right, if you think about higher end, high quality urban auto repair stores, they have a way to store vehicles, you know, especially if it's like auto glass, it might be 2 or 3 days. It doesn't look like a junkyard storage. And that's what people are concerned about is,
And you
It
are,
would be too. We don't want junkyard.
right, and you don't want it either.
We still retain property directly across the street from this site.
But
We
once-
have a massive investment, so we're not
I
looking.
I realize that once we approve a use,
Okay, so
it could
let-
change hands, right?
let him present, and there, and you got all those auto dealers, they don't have any fences.
Right.
from which I
true.
can see.
That's true.
Right.
And why would we want
Most of those cars are not crashed, however.
Pardon me?
Most of those cars are not crashed.
No.
Automobiles.
Yeah, that's right. So,
There might be a
Different
few
use of those vehicles.
heavily used ones instead of gently
I think
used
so
ones.
if they can do it, I guess it should be.
And the applicant can describe it, but I think he had
Yes.
mentioned a fence at first, and so I said, well, it has to be a very nice fence if it's going to be a fence. It can't be a chain link or something, so.
Hiding all the pretty pictures.
Oh,
My name is Paul
still
Tucci. I'm
hiding
with
them.
Papadan. We are at 400 Water Street, Excelsior, Minnesota. We're a Minneapolis-based developer. We've been in business for 27 years. And we've done a number of projects. We are at 342, I believe, and about $6 billion in value of projects created. I was telling Tom, I always hate to mention Gander Mountain because of what happened, but we've done a lot of Gander Mountains. We've done a lot of super value work. We do Orchard Supply. We do Duluth Trading. Abra's a client of ours. We do housing. We do senior housing. We've done office industrial. So we have a pretty wide swath of product type. I'm going to try to go through this, talk through. I think I can answer some of the comments that came up, and I am not going anywhere, so I can answer questions that will come up as I go through this. We came down about 3 months ago and looked at a number of sites. As you know, there is an Abra down on the south side of town. It's about 7 miles from this site. Then there's one over in Madison. I think it's about 25 miles, if I remember clocking it right. So the program shows that those two locations are very busy and they need some relief on those. And your community keeps growing, so unfortunately there's demand for repair of cars that have been in a collision. You have these in your packet. It's easier. Hopefully everyone can hear me.
But you need that microphone for the.
Not for amplification, it's for the recording.
Okay, there we go. I'm going to stand on this side because I think I can do it better and let everyone see. So we are looking at the site right on Airport Road. There is a little flag lot that we're also buying that was a residual piece. That's where we'll end up doing our ponding. Our building is about 18,000 feet. Drive lane coming up on the east side of the building to customer parking here, and then the fenced area that we talked about would go around the parking in here, and I'll talk about that in a second. I'll show you a different view of this so you can see it a little bit better. Again, Airport Road on the north side, access point here. We do show a potential for a shared drive. We don't need that. Unless there's some reason that this body or the city wants to have that shared drive. Again, we'll use this area for our ponding. The idea in our typical prototype model is that the customers, as they come in, can get to the parking and this first bay door here, that's an estimating bay that comes in. The two bay doors here are detailing bays and coming out bays, and then everything kind of moves in the back, the bay door down here. The fence that we're talking about, and I'll show you a rendering here in a second, is 6 foot high. The rendering doesn't do it justice. If you look at the rendering and the people standing by the fence, you'd think the fence is 10 feet high. It's not designed to be 10 feet high. We don't want to create something that's monstrous and looks like we're creating a fortress. The new model for Abra is they want to make sure, and the insurance companies want to make sure that they are securing vehicles in an area that people cannot walk into and tinker, mess around with the vehicles. That's the whole idea behind the fence. When we started into the development of the new prototype with them, they had a chain link fence, coated chain link, and we kind of looked at them and said, yeah, that's great in theory, but we're going into more urban environments. We're not out in rural America a building in towns of 2,000 people where a chain link would work. We have to come up with a better idea. What we're proposing is a maintenance-free vinyl fence coming around. It's a privacy fence, and I'll show you that picture here in a second. The building,
Can I interrupt a second?
Sure.
Could you, on that drawing, just draw where you think the fence is
Oh,
going?
sure. You can see it on, if you look, there's a dashed line that goes right here, and then it follows down the back side of this, and it comes up and here. So it goes right there.
So it's all around it.
Not coming all the way out to the front of the building?
No, this is, if you were bringing your car in, you'd pull in here and you could park your vehicle here, walk into the building. Then if the car needs to get serviced, if you're getting fender work done, it would come through a gate right here. You'd come through a gate and they'd take it from here and they'd bring it in the back of the building, and there's different bay stations inside for fender work.
Fence again?
The fence is this dotted line right here, follows the back side of the parking to this corner, comes back to that corner right there, and it comes up to the building. So there's a gate here and a gate right there.
And that's to protect the cars that are being worked on or stored?
Yes, yes. And what happens, again, I'm going to, the range they've historically, there's a rendering of the building, we can talk about this in a second. Generally, 70 to 80% of their vehicles are driven in. You get in a fender bender, your vehicle's still operational. You call your insurance agent says you can go to body shop A or body shop B. To answer the question of the retail use, you're not, hopefully, their customers aren't driving down and saying, hey, there's an Abra, let's go get this ding taken care of. It's typically driven by your insurance carrier and where they're located and who they're recommending them to. They have strong ties to a number of carriers. So it isn't quite that retail servicing, it's more insurance driven. Average car is there 5 to 7 days, but it depends on what, if you have a car that has major damage, it's going to be there longer. One thing that they do not do, this is not an engine shop. If you have engine work, they may bring it in, get it movable, put it back on the record, take it over to the mechanic who fixes the engine, then they'll bring it back in, they'll finish the body work. So the cars that are, sorry to keep switching back and forth here, the cars that are in the area behind the fence are the cars that are either waiting to be serviced or waiting to be picked up. The thing that, we just went through this out in suburban Philadelphia, and we were 2 miles up from an old auto repair where as you drive by, there are 30 cars sitting out that are all dented up. It looks like a junkyard. That's what we don't want to have happen. We want this to be contained. We have green space around to meet all the requirements of the municipality for green planting. We have the stormwater pond. We know we have to take care of all of that. But we need to have the cars in a secured area so that people can't get to them while they're waiting to be worked on or waiting to be picked up. All of the work is done inside the building. There will be a rare occasion where a car comes in on a wrecker and it may have a fender problem where they can't roll it in. Somebody might come out with a hammer and knock that fender out so they can push it in. But the body work is done inside. The paint booths are inside. Everything is done inside the building. These doors, again, I'm sorry, I keep flipping.
Before you go from there,
Yeah.
Can you show me where that bottom drawing that you've just pulled out, where that is taken? Where am I standing to look at that?
This is a rendering. This is not a site-specific drawing for this building. This is a generic.
I think that's confusing, right?
Yes, but this was designed to be concept plan. We wanted to talk about the site and give you an idea of what the building was, because depending on where and what feedback we got, if this building moves, the door can move with it.
Okay.
So
the drawing suggests that it is quite close to the road.
Well, this drawing suggests that the entryway is on this corner. It most likely will be on this corner. as you see on that corner, you see down low the 3 doors,
Yeah.
the 3 bay doors. That would be this side. So this rendering, the general rendering, would be flipped for this building. This would be this corner right here. If we were,
I'm confused.
I'm even more confused.
That's what that's showing.
this has it a little differently because it's hard to see. If you look in that corner, there's parking back there on this drawing. We don't have that on this site. Again, our prototypical site would have one access point off the main frontage, building would be centered, and there'd be parking on both sides. Then we pick which side to put the door on. This, we adjust every plan site-specific. Because of how access works back here, we don't want to have a driveway in the middle with parking on both sides. You'd have to come in and pick a direction, and we'd lose our storage.
And you can't have, help me, there can't be access from Airport Road?
No.
No.
We've asked that question, and it was answered very quickly. That was answered very quickly. So this, again, we can flip this either way, but generally because the access is coming in from behind the front door, we don't want the back of the building to face out to Airport Road because you'd have a fence back there. We don't want that. So. Again, this is a general rendering that if we move through this and decide that we're going to use it, this will be updated site-specific. The building is designed as a masonry building. I'm waiting for the comment about the orange doors. They are less than attractive, we realize that. It is a masonry block building here with a storefront, a raised parapet, that incorporates the glass and the brick on the building. So I think it's a very attractive building. It would fit in with the surrounding properties, both east and west, and to the south across Forsythia.
You often put in windows on that side?
Again, depending on this one, what we've talked about is the door might end up in the middle, so there might be windows on either side of it. But typically, the glass wraps the corner, and then these are offices here in the front of the building.
Well, it's just that they're all very enormous lengths of straight wall that have no breakup.
Yeah,
they all can be seen very easily over a 6-foot fence.
Right, and as we get into the design phase of this, we can look at creating some vertical breaks in that wall, put some pilasters in to break the parapet so we don't have a 200-foot linear run. We can break that roof line up. I heard a roof line comment earlier.
It is an industrial park. It's an industrial park near other office and industrial uses, so it's...
So let's say... Yeah, go ahead.
One thing that I do like is that you've come to us with a place for writing your logos, right? That the logos are right up front. You know exactly where they're going to go.
Yes.
Rather than us having to think later on, oh my God, he's putting a logo somewhere.
Well, that's...
And you want your logos to face Airport Road.
Yes. Yes, and again, I think that if the storefront tends to move to the middle, we would have obviously one sign there, and we may look to take this side one and put it on one of the other sides, but I do think we'll end up keeping it with that corner wrapped.
Thank you.
So let's say if I was to go to look at this facility on Adana Road, so how would that be different than, how?
Well, it's, I think they're old, the ABRA's gone through a few different ownership groups. The current group is a venture capital group, well-funded, and they are all about branding. In fact, Eileen will tell you that I sent down, and I can show you, this gets into their branding, and if John were here, he wouldn't be happy with me. That was the original elevation that we sent down, and the first thing that you notice is the sign.
Yeah.
This is the old ABRA sign, Auto Body Repair of America. So the new group is going back to their old roots, and what they're trying to do is their growth over the last handful of years has been through acquisitions. So you may have had a garage, they purchased your garage, you now are an ABRA employee, and you're a part owner of that garage. So they didn't have a repeatable McDonald's. You know, you go to McDonald's, you know it's McDonald's. You go to these ABRAs and they're all a little different. The one in Madison is actually a little different than the one down south here in their look. So we're trying to create a new brand that we take all across the country. We're working on 15 sites for them right now, and we're trying to create the model. They're changing their logos on buildings. That'll take time, but we're trying to create the new model.
Eileen, you had a question?
I just want to make 2 points. One is, and this is way too early in the process, I know, but just for the record, our parking ordinance requires a parking island and landscaping every 12 spaces, so there's quite a big break in here.
Yeah, and we can figure all that
I
out.
know you can. I know it's early. I just want to mention it. The second thing is, and I think, and Gene, correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the lots in the Airport Road Business Park were 5 acres. And I think this one was carved up so that we were able to relocate Dibdall's Kitchen to it, or next to it, or part of it. And this is 2.7 acres, so it is significantly smaller than the majority of them and had already been subdivided. And again, I could be remembering it wrong, but I thought that's what happened.
Well, the interior lots are 5-acre lots.
Mhm.
The lots that fronted on Airport Road varied in size.
Okay.
And like next to Kiva, we took, if you remember the house in the old Rip Barn, that's a 2-acre lot.
Okay.
And then where Talus was, that was smaller than 5 acres. as well.
Okay, I just remember Dibdall's didn't need as big of a lot.
And that is correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
Yeah, and I answered by
Is this
saying
Dibdall's?
most of the lots along Airport, you can see, we have the property line shown. There's one lot, there's a lot here, 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 here. We're 2.7, so I don't think many of them are 5 acres that front on.
Corrected. I thought there was, I
Okay.
was thinking that the vacant lot was between them.
So they're right to the west.
So they are
Yes.
immediately. But that,
Right there.
Okay.
What are we asking for tonight?
Just some feedback, and as Gene said, if there was positive feedback, then they would start the process to amend the GIP.
We need a motion.
Well,
And again, if anyone has other questions, I'm here to answer any questions at this point I can.
Yes, Kurt, you had something.
the reason there's no access off Airport Road, is that city policy or the landowners?
City.
And that makes sense. No, access management. You don't want too many.
Yeah, it's the major road, so you,
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to ask about the landscaping requirement for the island of the parking. Is there a way that we can understand that this area that'll be fenced off is really for storage of vehicles? We could
It could
be
potentially-
presumably waive that,
it could potentially.
because the point of the islands is kind of break up the kind of sea of asphalt that
Yes.
consumers see, and that safety and stormwater storage of vehicles behind a fence. is different.
Standing here today, knowing the requirements that are there, as we come back, if we are fortunate enough to move through and get this use allowed, I'd actually look to take, the planting counts that were going to be in this area and move them to the outside on the fence, so you create another row of screening. And I'd like to say that's an original thought of mine, but I was asked to do the same thing out in Philadelphia.
I've made that note on the drawing.
Yeah.
yeah, yes.
Again, if anyone asked, that was my idea. I want to take credit for all good ideas. And
Okay,
Hard to imagine Philly coming up with
more
a good idea.
questions? Yes,
was it?
Dennis.
Where in Philly?
I'm just,
Where?
I was a little confused at first because your symbol legend doesn't match what fence. Well, but the fence goes from that first garage door to the back of or to the Forsythia,
All the way
Road,
down.
right?
You
And
can
then
see the
wraps
dotted
around.
line, yeah.
Do you need? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I guess, do you need all of this parking?
I would say, do we need all of the parking up in front? Probably not. I want to make sure that we have enough for customers coming in. We do in their prototype development, we're trying to gain 50 parking stalls behind the fence. At most, just as a point of reference, most of the shops, the average shop does between 100 and 120 cars a month. That's average. Some are better, some are worse, but that's a good average. The one thing that, and when we get into this, Eileen, I'm not sure if we'll need a traffic study here. As I look through, it was a little unclear.
Usually conditional uses do.
Okay.
We'll have to ask our.
The one thing I can stand here with confidence and say, because we just went through this again, I'll reference our Philadelphia project, is that this use will be far more easy on the intersection and the traffic flow than an office use in here would be. We replaced a 20,000-foot office out there with an 18,000-foot building, and our traffic was just under half. So, it's, again, the operating hours typically are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. It's not something that starts early in the morning and goes late at night. It's not a grocery store where you have the refrigeration truck parked in there waiting to get unloaded at 4 in the morning, the compressor's going off and the neighbors call. Trash is inside. Trash will be back in this area here, and it will be picked up only when the business is open because they need to get through the fence. So you're not going to have a garbage hauler showing up at 6 in the morning. So it's pretty user-friendly in residential areas. Again, I'll refer to our Philadelphia project and one up in Minneapolis. Our property owner to our one side is residential, right across the street. Very concerned about how we operate inside that building. And you don't have the doors open and hear air guns going.
So this was to provide the input, so anybody wants to add anything more, or you guys have plenty of input now?
Yeah, we just, if we could just, it seems like this is a use that everyone thinks is compatible here with conditions, and it makes sense to take it to the next level of amending this zoning district.
That sounds okay?
Sure. But again, I thank you for your time. If anyone has questions, Eileen knows how to get a hold of me. Please don't hesitate to call.
Okay, thank you.
I thought they would have a parallel business called Cadabra.
Oh.
I had to.
Just because Mark's missing?
Mark. I'm in charge of bad jokes.
Okay, so the next one is the concept review of Dane Arts mural at Salt Storage Shed retaining wall, and this is Abby.
This came as a recommendation from the Public Arts Committee for concept review. Alder Hetrick is here, and she's the council representative on the Arts Committee, and also it was her idea to refer this to Plan Commission and Common Council at this time. We approached Dane Arts Mural Arts, or DAMA, which is a nonprofit organization that does murals around Dane County working with students. Mm-hmm. And we asked them if they'd be interested in doing a project in Middleton. They informed us that they actually already had a project in Middleton at Sauk Trail Elementary School. So some of you may be familiar with that. I haven't seen the mural myself.
I think I have seen it, didn't know that it was the Dane County. So.
Yes, and they worked with Clark Street students to do that mural as well. Mm-hmm. Subsequently, they came out and met with us and asked if we could suggest some sites. We gave them several options for potential mural sites in Middleton, including the Municipal Operations Center retaining wall, which previously the Arts Committee and the Public Works Committee actually had recommended that there be some sort of artistic treatment to that facility, and then it didn't end up getting any funding from the council, so it didn't move forward. And they really liked this site. They loved the visibility of it. The size is a little overwhelming, I think, for them. It would, if they were to undertake a project on both the south and east walls, it would by far be the largest mural that they've done to date. They have a mural in Monona that's 126 feet long. But this one would be significantly larger. We don't want to.
That one, wow, that was the biggest so far. Yes,
that was the biggest so far. Mm-hmm. They would like to work with Clark Street Community School students again on this project. They would like for the students to be able to select the theme for the mural, as well as design the mural and fabricate and install the mural, but they would be led by a professional artist. So you can get on the DAMA website and see examples of other projects that they've done around the county. It's a pretty cool organization. We don't want to get into specifics right now about the cost or how it's going to be funded. We do know we have a $10,000 grant that was allocated by the Madison Community Foundation for this project, and we also have a $1,000 donation from Julianne Jatsak and Mike Davis. So we have $11,000 for the project. The project would be more expensive. They think it's somewhere between 20 and 30 if we were to do both the south and east walls. We've been kicking around ideas at the Arts Committee, including using our annual operating budget that's allocated for Arts Committee, which is $5,000 a year, and also applying for a tourism grant. But as we kind of got further down the path of discussing ideas, Alder Hedrick suggested that, Alderwoman Hedrick, Alder is a tree. I learned that from George. She suggested that we should really just find out whether you guys like the idea of having a mural at that location, and also take it to the Common Council before we start getting too far down the road of figuring out how to fund it.
Great idea. So let's hear from you guys.
I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a great idea. So
I think it's a great idea. I think the current, it's a salt storage building.
yes.
So it's already ugly. So this would be really good.
And I can see even Van is almost ready to give some money from tourism.
It's kind of funny because I think this whole idea started with this covering up the salt building. And now that's become sort of that's interesting. And as you drive through the countryside, you see them, in fact, right off Black Hawk Country Club. One right there. So I think this is a great idea. I would just throw out the idea that this doesn't have to be the full surfaces of this. You might want to do a corner or just do a wraparound sort of a thing and let it fade off in each direction.
That would
Since
contain
it
the
does
cost,
that
too.
kind of naturally with the topography. And that would cut the cost down a little bit, and with some landscaping on either side too to soften it, it might turn out to be very nice. But it would definitely cheer up that corner.
And also those students, once you give them an opportunity to shine and come up with all those great ideas, I think what we might end up will be phenomenal. I think, I'm very encouraged. I think, so yes, Kurt.
So I would move to recommend concept approval to the Common Council.
Second?
Okay, any discussion now?
I would just endorse what Dennis said about perhaps not going all the way along the wall, doing the corner.
Okay, so Abby's taking note of all those things. So, Elizabeth, you want to add anything before we take a vote on it? Okay, all right. So the motion is for approval, and all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, so the motion passes. Abby, now you can
maybe
move
corporate
forward.
sponsorship, slap some logos on there. I don't.
Okay, we are on to item number 5. This is the certified survey map for Pheasant Creek LLC, J.T. Klein and Company, 6612 to 6626 Century Avenue.
And we did get some feedback. I think Mark Opitz had described that there are 2 options for the CSM, and I think that we did get feedback from the city attorney saying that the eastern lot can be an outlot, and that's fine, and the city would still be able to put a shelter structure with limited amenities on that. So it would be the CSM with 1 lot and an outlot then.
So what is the difference between by saying outlot versus saying lot 1 and 2?
An outlot typically can't be built on, and it's generally for some open space use or stormwater.
When someone prepares a CSM that has an outlot, it's an understanding that an unbuildable lot is created, but it doesn't create a potential legal liability for taking.
Right.
Because normally under zoning, you can't create a lot that's unbuildable, because every owner of has some development rights on every parcel under the Supreme Court. So by calling it an outlot, we recognize it's never to be built on.
Except that we will have a parking lot, we will have some other structures
Right,
on it.
that can be on there, it just can't
Yeah.
be, it's, right.
It can't be a principal use as designated under the zoning district.
So you can have those things,
You can have-
which
right.
we are proposing.
Yes.
So as long as we can have that one, I don't have any problem, so.
So why would we prefer the outlot then over?
The attorney stated that just because,
I saw that email Mark sent and it said it could be an outlet, but
Yeah.
but what difference does it make?
I'm sorry, I didn't talk to Larry and, since I wasn't here today. I think that it's just preferable for the reasons that Kurt was mentioning, to have it be an outlot. And it doesn't hurt anything, it's just,
Okay.
it's still the same fees, it's still the same.
And once, if the city proceeds with purchasing the outlet for the trailhead, we would be putting a permanent deed restriction on the property that it must be used for conservation purposes in perpetuity, which is required by the grant, the Knowles Nelson Land Acquisition Grant.
You wouldn't do the same thing if it was lot 2?
No, I don't think that matters
doesn't matter.
either way. So I'm really not sure why the outlot versus the actual lot, but that was just
Yeah,
what
it covers
Larry.
the same, then it can be purchased.
Because the city is proposing to purchase both Lot 1 and Lot 2.
So it just precludes any building
Yeah,
structure there,
yeah.
so,
So basically, we're taking, it's already 2 lots.
yeah.
We're just adjusting the lot boundaries through a CSM.
Well, it's actually 5 lots, and 3 are going into
Oh, yeah.
lot 1, and 2 are going into the outlot then.
Okay.
So it's the.
Yeah, it's 5 lots.
They look exactly the same, except one says
Yeah.
outlet.
Yeah,
one
other than
there.
just the names there, so.
Yeah.
So you just can't see the underlying boundaries very well.
No, I can see it, yeah.
Yeah, you can see them.
Okay,
I mean, if the city attorney is approving of CSM,
So the action you want from us is,
Well, I think is there an
Is-
easement, Jacob, that's going to be on this as part of the,
Well, yes, for the trail, right, the bike path.
so then it's a recommendation
7
for
feet.
approval to the common council, because the planning commission can't accept the easement on behalf of the city. It needs to be a action by the council.
But-
So,
so I'll
do
make
we-
that motion pertaining to the one with the outlet.
second,
okay, now the discussion.
do we also need to recommend approval of the CSM?
right, recommend approval of the CSM.
Right, that's what your motion is. Recommend
what I
approval
said.
of the CSM with the, with the
outline.
yeah.
And then recognizing that there'll be a easement.
That's what I meant to say.
Okay, any more questions? Then the motion is to approve the CSM with a outlot number 1, and the other is lot 1. So all those in favor say.
Wait. So what will Lot 1 be? That will be also a... So Lot 1 is the apartment building, and Lot 2 is the outlot? Okay. I just wanted to be clear, yes.
Yeah, well, that's good. So, and then do we need any easement part here, or is that all
Nope,
included
he
in
said
the?
no.
It's all included in the CSM?
I know I asked.
I don't think the easement is
I don't
included
see it
on the
here
CSM.
yet, but,
Okay, so how are you going to handle that?
We had one, Mark emailed one that did show the 7 feet.
Oh,
So I wonder if maybe we just didn't get the updated
under detail A,
versions.
area of Lot 2 affected by permanent limited easement, but that's Lot A.
I think the,
That you guys took back for,
oh, that was our sewer interceptor.
yeah, the sidewalk currently is 4 feet wide. Typically, I think what Mark is proposing for the path is 10 feet total, so we need an additional 6 feet, but typically the city likes to keep some property inside the sidewalk or the bike path, so that's why we needed 7 feet.
I was going to say, it says on here 7 feet outline.
Yeah.
It does?
Yes, 7 feet wide, public pedestrian
Oh, there we go.
and bike trail easement.
Yep,
Wait
it's
a
on
minute,
there.
where is
Where?
that?
It's
On the first
on lot
first
one.
page of
Oh, I see
outlot
it, I see it.
Yep,
Yep.
so that's good.
Okay, so it's all there. So
Yeah.
if we approve the CSM, then that's it's already part of it then.
And that's why we need the recommendation to the council, because
Okay.
the council can accept.
Okay.
Yes,
Any other
perfect.
questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So the motion passes unanimously. All right, so we are on to offer to purchase properties for a Pheasant Branch Conservancy Trailhead 608 Acquisition LLC. So we will be purchasing outlot number 1.
Yes. I just wanted to mention that we received a public comment from Mr. Rick Soto at 3023 Old Creek Road. It was emailed to all of you. It related to meeting the DNR requirements for the grant, and also his concern about the city approving paying 39% above assessed value for the property. I think he actually meant paying 39% above appraised value for the property. Because the assessment is actually lower than the appraised value. So it's more than 39% above the assessed value, but it is 39% above the appraised value. We did the appraisal for this back in April of 2016, as was required for the grant. And we had to do a DNR appraisal, which is a more longer form appraisal than what's typically what we typically would do for residential property. And the appraised value came back at $342,000, which is lower than the price that Jacob Klein paid for the properties in 2015. And I also passed around copies of the land contract that Jacob Klein entered into, which shows that his acquisition cost was $475,000. This is not an opportunity for the city to negotiate a sale price because we really don't have any powers related to condemnation for this property because it's for a trailhead, and the state recently took away the city's right to condemn properties for trails, and we believe that that would extend to trailheads. Furthermore, with the DNR grant, it has to be a negotiated sale price. And so the grant would cover $172,000 of the acquisition cost. The city would be required to make up the other $300 and some thousand, and that would be using TIF 5 funding. We ran the offer to purchase by the DNR as is required for the grant, and they've approved the offer to purchase, obviously contingent on approval by the city. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think
So
that's
Abby, so you have answered all the comments which
Yes.
Rick Soto has made, and you sent him an email answering
Yes.
all those points.
Yep.
So, and from what I could see, he was satisfied with your answer, so there are no more standing objections to it from
With
him.
the exception of the city's purchase price. He's still objecting to that. I think he felt that I had satisfied his questions regarding whether the city had taken the appropriate steps for the grant.
Okay,
And we've been working very closely with our contact at the DNR, Cheryl Housley, to make sure that all the requirements are met.
okay.
And
they are.
the
Okay.
the city's acquisition price is
What the-
reflects Mr. Klein's purchase price,
Right.
Yeah.
which one could argue reflects some fair market value.
Yeah.
Okay,
I would move to recommend approval to common council for purchase of the property.
Second.
okay. Now questions, comments, anything?
Do we need to include in the recommendation to recommend using of TIF 5 money, TIF District 5 money, or is that implied in the motion? So TIF 5.
Five.
TIF 3 gives money to TIF 5 and that money is used, so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's 3, but.
Well,
TIF 3 is a donor to
TIF 3
5.
donated to TIF 5, and we would
So
use the
that
It was
funds
very
that were
generous of
donated.
TIF 3 to donate. How nice.
I don't think it hurts to include
Okay,
it.
it can't
Yeah,
hurt.
Okay, so yeah, I'll amend my motion to say recommend
Okay.
approval to the common council for purchase using TIF District 5 funds.
Okay, second, is that okay with you? Okay, all right. Okay, so any questions or comments? Otherwise, I'm going to call the question. All of those in favor of this motion say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? So motion passes
And
unanimously.
can we just state for the record, we appreciate Abby's detailed and thorough response to Mr. Soto by
Yes,
email.
that was-
I think Abby did a great job. Thank you, Abby.
She always does.
Along that same line, I was wondering if I could just bring up, I find it maybe a bit unfair that a citizen can write us an email, and which, in this case, this is one of the shortest, so it didn't take that much of my time. But other people in the city who come before here to make a public comment are subject to a 3-minute time period. I think it's very unfair that he asked us to record that as part of the public record when he is doing it, at sort of at his convenience as opposed to at the public's convenience.
That's actually a good point. Okay, so thank you, Dennis. So the next one is item number 7. This is urban greenway study, area study.
And Abby had made copies of additional text changes that are redlined, and they're at your place, and also a map change.
Hey, what? Sorry, what? Map change?
Yeah,
That's the one that's,
yep.
Yes.
that's the thing. And then the Vanderwall and Associates dated today, the red line, are some additional changes that are being proposed by our consultants to reflect comments, I believe, from primarily the golf course committee, but so the
So-
activity of golf should continue to be the primary use of the golf course area.
So is it mainly for information or any approval, or what do you
Well, I
want?
think if we could, if the planning commission is ready to make a recommendation to the council for approval of the study, would also make it part of the comp plan activities and components at a later date, but for now, make a recommendation to the council for approval, if you're ready to do that.
Are we ready? Or you want,
I don't understand the personalities and politics at play here, so I'm going to tread carefully. But as I read the red letter text in this Vanderwall, it basically would be a city policy to basically say that the Golf Course Advisory Committee should basically have kind of absolute veto on anything that occurs anywhere near the golf course. Am I reading that correctly?
Well, the council has the absolute, they have the absolute authority over it. So-
It's the advisory
but I think
committee.
yeah, the golf course committee is advisory, but I think they would.
Do they understand themselves to be advisory, or?
Well,
Sorry, that
Good
was.
question.
I guess all the
I
committees.
mean, I'm not opposed to that. I'm just saying that it seems like a pretty strong statement to adopt as policy language. But I understand that that's part of the kind of implicit deal, is that we protect the golf course from any negative impact.
Well, I wonder if they think that the bike park is appropriate. I mean, they seem to have a.
They think the bike park is.
There's been.
This is in documents that's in front of us that you may not have.
You just got black and white ones.
So,
It commits the city council to being.
They just came out today. You can have my copy of it. I don't have another one to give, yeah.
we could, if you want to make a motion, you could amend it. I mean,
I don't want to wordsmith something that's already gone through other committees' reviews. I'm just trying to figure out.
We just literally got this language
I don't
today.
think it's gone through other committees. This
Right.
was just provided today.
So
I'm not reading it as restrictive as you
Okay.
are.
That's fine.
I think when Mr. Sabaka was here a few weeks ago, he was trying to tell us how important the
Right.
golf
To have it
course is
prominently,
and to
yeah.
have it
Yeah.
preserved as the predominant use and the profitability that it brings and all that.
Right.
And I think,
And
to me,
I
that's,
think we all agree with that.
and to me, that's what this language does.
I can see there's a.
And their argument is also that you can't change the driveway at all.
Unless they would, if the city wants to pursue that, then they would like to hire a golf course architect. But right now, what we're recommending is that we not review it as part of the, or include that as
part of the Greenway study,
part of the Greenway study.
but as part of the Pleasant View Road.
It could potentially be looked at
Concept.
again, in which case they would need a golf course architect, which we've always said from the beginning would need to be done, a golf course architect to look at that if it was going to be done, so.
And so when this document in front of us says the map on page 26 represents these lands and future uses as agreed upon by the golf course and city stakeholders, is that this map?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
showing that there's about 90% of the land that's used as part of the golf course and about 10% for the other uses, the bike park uses.
And that was a deal that
Right.
has been going for a long time.
Totally, I think it's about 300 acres altogether.
305.
305. I'm sorry, what?
Okay, so the
300.
golf course is 275, total is 305, and the non-golf is 30 acres.
But I'm saying 275 acre parcel should be used only for golf purposes.
Right.
And the existing, does that include the bike trails?
No.
No, it does not, no.
Now, the existing bike trail is where that dip is, right near the clubhouse.
Too, sorry.
So this document, since we're just reading it now, I'm reading it carefully. We're basically, by accepting this document, recommending relocating the Middleton Bike Park trailhead to separate golf and non-golf uses. And is that's something I don't know enough about to know whether it's a good thing or bad thing.
That's a good thing that separates the parking, which is one of the major issues, because
Right.
they are overflowing right now with golf uses.
Mm-hmm.
And you throw in bike parking
And the peak is about the same for the uses.
and putting in that bike parking limits their profitability. It takes away from golfers who are paying.
Oh, okay.
So they've been trying to separate them.
Been trying to separate.
Yeah, that parking, the entrance is
The same.
so small,
Yeah.
and when those bikers come, the bikes are loaded at the back, and they have, it's sort of a closes that,
So it's your classic
Area.
multi-user conflict.
yes.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Can bikers paying nothing?
Yes.
Can golfers paying however much to play around the
And
golf?
bikers and golfers are a different breed of people.
And then you have people walking on the golf course and damaging the tees.
Which is not.
No.
What happens along that red line?
That's just the separation between the land that's used for the golf course and the land that's used for.
I understand, but what happens along it? Around cars,
No, there's no fence.
No, it's just an arbitrary line.
Yes. It's just showing the use of the bike park and how that's different from golf.
So is it understood, that line?
Probably not, it's probably where the greens, or is it?
Yeah, it's the limit of where the golf course needs, for their uses, and then it also coincides with what's been developed, I believe, for the bike.
The trails are clearly marked, or paved, or crushed out.
So then you answer your question, if you go there, this is the area which is mowed, and anything else, you will have the forest, and there are trees there, and you can clearly see the difference.
But is the issue that the bicyclists on the path go off the path and impact the golf course?
No.
Well, no, the
Parking
bicycles
is there.
don't really go,
That's a problem that
But that's a different issue.
Yeah.
Or is that part of this plan?
they want to put up signs. They want to be able to put up signs and restrict people that shouldn't be on the golf course.
Right,
being
no,
on
I
the golf
totally agree with
course.
that.
And that's very reasonable.
We should be able to tell by a mosquito line, but some people don't.
The fact that they're allowing skiing in the winter, I think, is fantastic.
It is fantastic, and that's a wonderful use, and it
that
coincides really well with
conflicts
the golf.
well, it's a city facility, I mean,
Yeah, but it's the bikers that are infringing on the golf uses.
Bikers are always causing problems.
Well,
Just ask Hope it's.
It's not so much a matter of.
Okay, so you guys feel comfortable doing anything, or we don't have to vote on it, I mean, I don't think there's anything urgent there.
I think a vote would be helpful.
We're just really proud too of the Urban Greenway study and the process and our consultants and the work that was done, because it really highlighted how wonderful the Urban Greenway is to the city and how things have been built around it. And really, again, for people that have been here for years and years and years, it was eye-opening.
Well then,
I am comfortable with it and ready to make a motion that we recommend this language to the council. That's what we have to do.
I'll second that.
Recommend approval of
So you
the
second it? So
Recommend approval to council with the changes as outlined in the 3 memos, and removing the options for changing the entry drive location of the golf course to the road.
And this latest.
And this latest,
You know what I meant.
Yeah.
is described in the memo by Van Wall.
I got it.
So, does everybody, now David, you have some questions I can see. Other than that, how do you distinguish that line?
Right.
There's a-
What is the yellow dotted line? Is that the trail,
Bike trail.
the actual bike trail?
Not yellow, that's a bike trail.
That is the bike trail.
Yeah, I actually walked that, that's very extensive, it's almost 2-3 miles, so it's, yeah, it's actually pretty neat.
Where do you park when you want to walk there?
Well, I park.
I mean, do you park in the golf course parking
Yeah,
lot?
of course, yeah.
So that's,
I mean, if you want to walk, where do you park? Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
have
yeah.
any problem there.
which is fine. But the golf course would say you're taking a spot, I'd be taking a spot from.
Well, if you want to go to clubhouse and have a lunch or whatever, so you're going to park anywhere else, you're going to park right there, right?
Right.
Yeah, so I don't see any
Thursday
problem.
night being the busiest night, I think, of league nights. Kurt, the parking extends to probably, on
All the way
this
down the
map,
driveway, yeah.
to the east of the city parcel land A, that marker, okay? Go a couple hundred feet beyond that.
Yeah,
And
sure.
parking on each side of that narrow road.
Oh, gosh.
And that's what you're dealing with. And it's not that anybody is to blame for anything, that's just the way we've set it up.
Yeah.
And now we've got an issue because
Yeah.
the golf course has become more
It's successful.
And
very
as
successful.
it's,
Which is a good thing, but,
It is a good thing.
right, now we just need to sort out the kind of monster that we made, but it's certainly reasonable to.
it's a good monster, so, but, there will be a
Is the
bigger
golf-
parking lot, and I think
There'll be a
things
bigger
will
parking
okay,
lot?
so.
And Terrence is going to put in some lifts and slides for us.
That would be the answer.
So, any other questions?
Uh-oh, George is taking notes on that one. Uh-oh.
Okay, if there are no more questions or comments, all those in favor of this motion say aye. Anyone opposed? So the motion is passed unanimously. So the next one is the recommendation for public input and design for Middleton Downtown Plaza. There's Abby.
I don't really have anything to add beyond the recommendation, except to say that this is just, this is a draft, so we're certainly open to any ideas that you guys have that you would like for us to incorporate. We are suggesting that we would hold 4 public input sessions, which would be facilitated by Rochelle Ritson-Thaler, who lives downtown and has a lot of experience working for different firms and doing this type of public input session, these types of public input sessions. We would hold 4 of these. In addition, we would also have some opportunity for public input at the site in the spring. We're requesting a budget of $1,000 in TIF 3 funding to cover the cost of the materials. And then once we collect all of the public input, we would put that into a request for proposals, send it out to landscape architecture and design firms, review the proposals with a selection team. We have 7 suggested members or representatives that could attend or that could help to review the RFP. And then we put together a rough timeline which shows that we would collect public input through the spring, send out the RFP in the summer of next year, select a design firm in August of next year. They would design the plaza through the end of the year. We would work on fundraising. in early 2019 and construct the plaza in the summer of 2019.
Yeah, looks like pretty comprehensive plan, so.
I move to recommend approval to the Finance Committee and Common Council.
Seconded.
Okay, so I just would add one thing that when I go around, people are already asking when is the public input there. So
talked about that.
if we could have the dates, once we have the dates, and we would really like very widely circulated information so that the people can come and provide input. Many people are already very interested. And we
Could we
do
get a
want,
sign on the street, on the building, property?
yeah,
A
that,
sign?
Some
Well,
kind of sign.
the buildings are down now. There was a big hole there when I walked by earlier to go to the post office.
more to do.
Yeah, they've got some work still, some demolition work. But once we actually take ownership of the property, which I think is scheduled for early next year.
sometime in end of December or early
End of
next.
December, early next year. Then we can actually post a sign or something on the site. But the idea that Rochelle had is that we would fabricate a big board and we would have some kind of stickers or something where we would allow people to do different public input exercises at the site.
We also talked about having a sign like future
Plaza site, a little.
When did they start demolishing the building?
last week.
Gosh, yeah, it happened quick.
Well, they went down fast.
The day after they approved it.
I'll have to go see it.
It looks amazing. It really does.
I haven't seen
How
it.
it
It really
changes.
opens it up.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
You feel like you're
Yeah.
surrounded by a city.
Yeah.
It's just, it's a
gonna be
very,
cool.
Yeah, no, it's-
Yeah, we can also put all the, these dates so that people, all the information there.
Yeah, we'll create a website
Yes.
once everything's gone through the approval process and come up with some, ideas for collecting emails and those kinds of things to make sure.
Well, considering how much has gone into it, we really want very wide public input, so.
Maybe I should ask for $2,000 for a
Maybe
budget
so.
instead of 1,000, so we can post some
Thousands for a bone.
ads in the papers and that kind of thing. Facebook sponsored posts.
Oh,
If
yeah.
you want to give us 2,000, that would go a little
That
further.
would-
I don't want to press it.
Well, you want it to be the best it can be.
Exactly.
yeah, I mean, I would amend my motion to recommend up to 2,000, up to
Up to 2,000, yeah, 1,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you agree, the second?
Oh.
Yes.
There's no way against Kathy, she would probably agree with the committee. I was wondering why you decided to put names on the possibility going forward. I would note that Kathy's a member of the Plan Commission.
That's true.
And there are these two other members of council that are not represented on the pre-committees until they get to council for what you have listed here. And so Dan Ramsey or Burke or myself, but I was specifically thinking Dan might be a good addition and not represented on any of the other commissions.
But it's a,
Okay, I don't understand. I didn't catch the second part.
She just would like some of the other folks from city council to be on this committee.
Oh, yeah, the reason that I suggested Kathy is because it's in her district and also because she attended and participated in the meeting that we had with Rochelle and I know is very supportive of the project and also has worked for design firms and also has the sustainability background too.
Well, we could also add,
But we could add members too.
oh, Mark's, yeah.
Historical Commission, yeah.
yeah, so let's add, this is not written in stone, so we can add more members. So
So
just,
add one additional elected official? Is that what you're thinking?
yeah, I think probably.
We shouldn't suggest who it. I was just going to say maybe we shouldn't suggest who it would be immediately. It just when I look at what you have it's going to finance, it's going to planning before it comes to common council. Kathy is on planning. Susan, Mark, Howard, and Joanna are all on finance. When I think of the people who are not represented on that sort of discussion layer, I'm thinking of it. There are at least 3 council members there. That was all I was saying.
I agree with Elizabeth.
So not putting names on any of them?
Well, she's saying there are 3 who are not represented on any, so maybe pick out of those, Dan and Elizabeth and Robert, so.
The other thing is they will have chances to participate as a citizen.
It was just a suggestion.
Yeah, and at finance, everyone on council speaks.
I think it's a good idea, so I think there's nothing wrong to consider, so. I mean, it doesn't hurt anyone, so.
I don't have any preference either way. I just want to understand what we're doing so I can change it to put in the.
So are we
Yeah.
losing anything by
Well,
adding?
the document says the team will consist of 5 members and 7 are listed, so maybe
Oh,
just
well,
change
that's a
it,
problem.
maybe just change it to the team will consist of
Yeah, that's right.
up to 8 members and, including one or more council members.
Okay.
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
And
So what is you are limiting the membership just to?
no, up
so
to
that
just, I mean,
No, I'm asking Abby, so why are you limiting to these?
This is a selection.
These are just
Selection
the people who will review the proposals that we receive
That
from
would make a
the
recommendation.
design and
Okay.
landscaping firms that would then make a recommendation to the Plan Commission, Finance Committee, and Council.
Okay.
And I've served on these before, and these proposals oftentimes are 30 to 40 pages long, and we might get
5 or
10 to
6.
15 for all we know. I mean, probably not. We just had a selection process for designing park shelters, and we received 3 or 4 proposals from architecture firms for that. So I don't know how many people we're going to get that want to serve on the RFP recommendation committee, but we can we can accommodate however.
I'm not opposed to this, but I'm curious as to why you had a library representative on there.
I was thinking that we would rely somewhat on the library for programming the space.
Okay. I know-
Another good addition might be a tourism representative, because we talked with Julie Peterman, our tourism director, earlier today about possibly having some involvement from tourism in programming the space.
I would say tourism must. I think they also have money, Abby, remember. So.
Well, and I know too that, Abby, that the library has talked about using alternate spaces for its programming, so that does make sense.
Yeah, and they don't have much, if any, outdoor space right now, and they do like to have outdoor programming. They've been using the lot next to City Hall occasionally. So.
Dennis, you have something.
Well, this, I'm sure this will get dumped on, but I would suggest somebody from Frank Productions.
Somebody
Not
with a
going to probably
background.
be a citizen of Middleton, but they do know things about attractions and the things that need to be provided for it.
That's a good idea.
That's an awesome idea, I would say. Yes, yes. More ideas, folks. We want this to be really good plaza now, since we are starting on it.
I do just want to second what Abby said. Having run numerous RFP committees, these will run for days, like hours and weeks, and it
I'm
is.
glad David is doing this.
Having done this, just whoever volunteers, be ready to
David's name.
be in rooms for hours and.
David is all excited, so.
Oh, yeah, right.
Okay, well, any more, I guess, up to 2,000, that's the amended motion. Now, all those in favor of this motion, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? So the motion passes. Abby, on to it. Let's get started with this one, so.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay, so the next 2 items are reapproval. This is item number 1 of Cardinal Crest Plan Development District Specific Implementation Plan. This we have been doing for a long time, I think,
Yes, this
so.
is Dr. Organke's project that was approved by the Joint Committee. It's in the.
Yes,
Southwest
yes,
for
Mark, go ahead.
4 units, and just the need to reapprove because he has not brought forth a SIP. And just while I'm talking, the number 10 is a similar thing. He bought the only vacant lot in what's a planned development district for duplex condos, the villages of Bishop's Bay, and also would like reapproval of that PDD because it's still vacant, so.
Move approval for number 9.
Second.
Okay, all right, so second. And does anybody, that's the owner there, back there?
Yes, that's Dr. Organke.
Would you like to make any comments, sir?
How long would you like to be here?
Oh.
I really don't need to unless you want to be here for a long time. I bought this in 1976.
All right,
And so if you want to hear the whole story, I'd be happy to tell it to you, but I think you just soon get home.
I think maybe these guys like to go home now, so thank you. Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Anyone opposed? So now we are on to last one, the motion number 10, or the item number 10, the reapproval of the Village of Bishop Bay
You guys mind repeating who
single-family
moved
lot
and seconded that
Moved by
one?
Zeller, second by Paulson.
Planned
Thanks.
Development District PDD, Sumner Properties LLC, Signature Drive.
Moved reapproval and recommended reapproval for town council.
Second.
Any question, comments, discussion? All those in favor say aye. Anyone opposed? So motion passes.
And Abby will have to remind me, but next year I'll put it on for number 1 and 2 of the agenda.
But you had great time, isn't it? Yeah,
I've not looked at it yet.
yeah, I mean, there's so much learning, right? All right, well, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So, well, I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, guys. You guys make a difference.